smallest thing without the moon. And now I'm marching for the rubber bands. I need those rubber bands. I swear I need those rubber bands. I need those rubber bands. I swear I need those rubber bands.
I'm riding extra dirty, tryna get me zaga. Old G's be like you see G's, iya panda la gaga. Trabago with the fam, and longi buto lapa. Smelling fresh like an ocean, kakate nukikapa. Trabago, sebenza spanel, zenzel. Me and you broke folks, signoga nesel. Shit, I wake up in the morning, inji kukupa. Tryna stack me my changura, life ya dura. If you're standing in my road to riches, put your head in stitches. She said,
yes, sir.
How are you living?
I'm good, thanks, and how are you?
I'm good. Please talk to your fans, your followers, your haters, your friends, your future fans about you. Who is Seth? Sing. Your story.
Seth Singer is a very passionate individual that takes pride in everything that he does. I know a lot of people know me through music, but Seth Singer is more than just that.
Yeah.
The brand Seth Singer has ventured into other avenues like clothing, fashion, styling celebrities. He's also an actor, and overall a creative entrepreneur.
All right. But where did it all start? Where was your first motivations towards creativity or the arts?
I could say that I was born into a family that was very music orientated. So there was always music playing.
Yeah.
From the morning until we go to bed, there was always music playing. I found myself knowing lyrics to certain songs, without me even being aware. So my family was very musical, and as I grew older, that branched out into church. When I started going to church, I wanted to be a part of the Sunday school choir, and when I took part in that, it led to me also trying my hand at acting. We used to call them sketch back
Sketches,
then.
high school, that's a primer.
Yeah. So seeing that, I was actually pretty good at what I was doing. We ended up going to different circuits within the church, the church organization.
Other branches also.
Yes, and we used to go out there, perform, do sketches, etc., etc.
Was there a time when the adults swapped and did sketches while the kids were watching? Or the teachers and them?
No, not at all.
Always you.
It was more about like Sunday school, and it was a lot of us. Like it was probably plus minus 25 kids. But I was fortunate enough to always have, I would say, major parts or major roles as part of the choir. I used to, there's songs that I used to sing, and the other kids would back me up. And when we did sketches, I also did like main characters.
Yes.
Yeah. So, luckily enough, through that, I managed to discover other things that I wanted to venture in within the art scene.
Yes.
And that's where I fell in love with songwriting. That's when I decided to follow celebrities. Back then it was artists like Ntando. I remember was
massive at your wedding.
I was in the Eastern Cape back then, so you can imagine he's Thwasa, so he was massive there. And you know, I studied him. I studied the way he wrote his music. You know, he inspired me a lot.
Where is Ntando now, sir? As far as you know.
Ntando is still around. Someone I'd really like to you know, it's been a lifelong dream, you know, to one day work on something with Ntando, because I really feel like if it wasn't for artists like him and Neyo,
yes,
I wouldn't have really fell in love with songwriting. I remember my first song that I wrote, I was in primary, I was 13 years old. Because it was always hard. I always asked myself, how do I go about writing a song? Where do I start? You know, yeah, I didn't even have a beat back then, so I literally had to start something from thin air.
Yeah.
So what kind of like helped me is melodies. I didn't finish the song within the same day. It was an ongoing process. So I would get inspiration, and I'd write probably just the hook, and then maybe next week get something and incorporate it into what I've written, and then it evolved into a first song, and it was a love song.
The kind of music that Ntando were doing, the kind of genre, the main genre that you were looking at, or were there other genres that you were interested in when you were growing up?
At that point, like in my life, nothing else mattered besides Afro-pop. Yeah, Ntando was an Afro-pop artist.
Yes.
And you know, he was celebrated a lot in the Eastern Cape, and he was representing the Xhosa people very well.
Ringo, that's what you do to your stars.
No Ringo as well. No Ringo as well. But Ringo was more of, I would say, my mother, my uncles. Those were the people that really liked his music. And then us, the young kids, you know, we really liked Ntando because he resonated with us because he was young, and you know, the girls liked him, you know, so we wanted to be like him.
Gave you hope, yeah.
Yeah, Ringo did at a later stage as I matured, and you know, that's when I kind of also saw that, hey, you know, Ringo is actually an OG, and I think that he probably did influence Ntando one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who are you working with when you start your music journey? Who are the producers, the people that help you shape it up?
The beginning, I didn't have a producer. It was actually very sad because back then I was in the Eastern Cape and people were not interested in music. It looked like a far-fetched dream, you know. I really felt out of place because I was so invested into doing this thing, and no one really had the same ambitions when I was still in the Eastern Cape.
Yes.
But you know, as soon as I decided to come up to Johannesburg to live with my mother, that was one of my main goals, to establish myself as an artist, because I'd always daydream, you know, about one day coming to Jozi and, you know, being a star like the likes of Ntando. I knew that in the Eastern Cape it was going to be very hard for me to do that, because no one really cared about that. So when I got here when I arrived in Johannesburg, I attended a school called Metropolitan, which then led to me meeting a friend called Emtee. The same year I got here, and I arrived in Johannesburg, I applied. Well, I don't know if you guys still remember Jam Early. Yeah.
Was it the V-Mesh time or the new generation? New generation.
Yo, V-Mesh is way before my time. I'm not that old.
I'm checking in.
Very young guy.
I'm checking in.
Yeah.
So Kibo, who's this girl now?
Thwasa.
Thwasa from Lesedi.
Yeah. So my time was Thwasa and Nekwa. So I had like that. I remember I would come back from school on a Friday, I'd rush just to get home so I could watch Jam Early. And you know, whenever I was watching it, I used to get so mad and angry because most of the time the contestants, I felt like they didn't have much talent and they didn't have much knowledge about, you know, the simple questions that they were asked. And I really felt that would be a very great opportunity for me to explore. And you know, whenever during the infomercial, or they take a break and say, if you want to see yourself here performing, SMS your name, your ID number to this number, And I did that countless times. Back then I was still at school, so I was broke. I had to hustle to get 5 rand for airtime each and every Friday, and SMS. So yeah, so at that time it was very difficult to
have a producer.
To get to jam early, because that's the only way I knew it possible.
Not through the structures of Zamateng.
No. So when they didn't respond to all of my SMSs, I resorted to joining church. Because I felt like I still had that thing in me of wanting to be a part of a Sunday school, and I went to church. And when I joined Hillbrow Independent Baptist Church, they had a kid, how could I say this, a Sunday school choir, which I became a part of. And one of the church leaders identified my talent, and within a few months I was already like singing at church every Sunday. So that just kept my love for music going. Though it was I was very nervous, because I was shy at that time. And it was a church that was mostly, I would say, people that were there were white people, so it was hectic. But
and when do you shift to now starting to look for an opportunity to do a demo, work with producers?
So fast forward, I think the Jam Alley thing changed. It came with opportunities, because fast forward, I'd say a couple of months down the line, Jam Alley responded to one of my SMSs, and when they did, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I knew, when you know that this is what I've been waiting for. And though they invited me to come for an audition, I knew that I was going to make it, because I had been preparing the whole time. I knew what I was going to do when I get there. I knew everything. And I attended the auditions. There was a bunch of people. It looked like Coca-Cola pop stars or idols at the SABC. We had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have cash. I had to hustle. I remember, I think I ended up selling airtime to this one guy. So what happened is I picked up an airtime voucher, and I didn't know if it was used or not, but it was 15 rand. And I took a risk, and I approached this other guy who I knew was using that network, and I sold it to him. And then when he gave me the money, that's the money I used to get on the taxi and go to audition. When I got there, there were so many people, you just get nervous, because there's so many people who are talented. Some people even came all the way from Cape Town just to audition. So I ended up doing my audition at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but I got there in the morning like 6. By the time I did my audition, I was already hungry, I was having second thoughts, because it was just so many people. It looked like a sold out show. Luckily, when I auditioned, I really impressed the judges. And I could tell that because they had like so many papers in front of them, and I was studying how their system worked. If they gave someone a yes, they would put you on this pile. If it's a no, they'd put you on the other pile. And if it's a maybe, they'd put your paper in the middle. So your paper has like your numbers, who you are, ID number, etc., etc. So I knew that if they put your paper on the pile with the lowest amount of papers, then you had a chance. And after I auditioned, I wanted to audition using Ntando, like one of his songs, but when I got there, they're like, nope, you have to select from this list which song you're going to audition using. And luckily there was Neyo there, and Neyo is one of my inspirations, so I chose to audition using Neyo's song called Closer. After I did that audition, they gave me a call a week later, and just like that, I ended up going to R.i.p Studios. They took us through how we were going to shoot.
So you shot and finished. I want to go beyond Jam A. So the event went perfect.
Yes.
Okay, what was their judgment from the hosts and the fans?
It was amazing. That's what led to me meeting producers.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
after I'm on TV now, you know, people kind of like recognized me.
Yes.
And then my friends knew people that were doing music, and then they started introducing me to those people because they saw me.
Stuff from Jam Alley.
Yeah, exactly. And they were also willing to work with me because I was on Jam Alley. That's when my first producer I ever worked with was a guy called Tim. He was in Hillbrow. I was introduced to him by a friend of mine called Honor Sitole, and we didn't have nothing, but Tim was amazing. He didn't have a beat, but he was very good with the keyboard. So I just I had this song, the first song that I ever wrote. Do you remember the song I wrote when I was still in the Eastern Cape?
Yes.
I had the melody in my head, so I just basically hummed it to him, and then he played the keys, and then just like that I had my first song.
Demo.
From a demo from a bedroom studio.
And then what are you thinking at that time? Just after you accomplished your first demo, obviously you need to do more music, but what are you thinking in terms of the game?
I'm thinking, man, these guys don't know what's coming to them, because I like the win of Jam Alley, because I actually went on to win the first prize. Like I was voted, you know, there's third prize, second prize, and first. So I got the first prize, and that confidence just boosted me to be like, yo, man, you made it. Yes. You got the number one spot. There were thousands of people, but you made it, you know. So I got that confidence, and I got into studio with Tim. After doing that song, that's when I kind of like struggled, because that's when you get to sell your music or share your music.
That it's a business.
That was the complicated thing, because I didn't know what to do now. I had the song, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what step to take thereafter. Yeah. Okay,
then you decide to I persist anyway. So where did you persist going towards? Who did you approach? Who did you meet that turned it around and made you think I can go professional with this thing?
Sure. It really took a long time for someone like that to come into my space.
Yes.
I grew up in Hillbrow, so you know, and in that area, not a lot of people entertained that idea. So I went on to do that, to record music over and over again, without much results. You know, I didn't even have like the ambitions to go to record stations, to record labels, because I felt like I was not yet good enough, because the quality that we had, I just felt like it was not
good
enough.
Music, you've listened to Neyo, you've listened to Ntando, you know what quality is.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm following with your question though. I feel like I'm drifting.
You are, because now we're trying to connect to the producers that actually picked you up. So you're saying you grew up in a tougher environment and you didn't feel good, the music was ready for radio stations. But who do you meet that gives you the turning point?
Who did I meet? Fast forward, I think I kept on trying with this music thing. I ended up joining Hillbrow Theatre to enhance my singing skills and performing skills. And then as soon as I got my first job after completing matric, that's when I got to go to studio sessions that could give me the quality that I've always wanted, and dreamed of.
Yeah.
And my first song that I recorded in a professional studio was in Braamfontein, and at that time that producer was Marciano Gwala. He went by the name MX Beats.
Yes.
And I knew about him because he was working with the Cashtime boys. Back then there used to be a group called Cashtime, which was like a proteges of Tear Gas. So I saw him on Facebook, invited him, and I inboxed him, and then he told me where his studio was in Braamfontein, and I went to his studio, and I was just blown away at the quality that he had.
Yeah.
He was capable of doing.
Yeah.
Did my first professional song with him, and that song led to me being on Yo TV. And that's when I felt like, yeah, so this is now the quality I feel like the industry
What year is that?
wants. This is back in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was hustling by all means necessary, and I sent them a song. I sent Extension 4 an email with my song and all of the other things that they needed. And I got an email back, and they invited me to come to their studios to come promote my song. The song was called Lost It All, and it's produced by MX Beats. So this was the second time I'm being on national television.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really felt like, these are all the signs that I've been looking for.
Okay. Then you decide to go professional. What gives you the heart now to say I'm going professional, and what was your first plan when you were going professional?
Oh man, so I planned that in order for me to put my name out there, I'd have to work with as much people as I can. It was pretty hard because I was a nobody. Not a lot of people knew about me, so I just told myself that I'm going to do as much features as I can with whichever artist I come across, and I just collaborated with artists from Soweto, Hillbrow, obviously. Sheesh, now that I think about it, it was not that much artists that I collaborated with.
And when does Emtee happen?
Oh, he happened in 2013.
Did you know him from the hood, Hillbrow? Because he's from there. We used to hang.
Yeah, I didn't know about him prior to that. So I'm really hustling in 2013, right? I was so motivated. I'm like, hey man, I really gotta make it, and I used to go to auditions. Whatever audition that I appeared, I'd make sure that I do it, even if I knew that I didn't have much of a chance. Presenting auditions, open auditions. There was also auditions by Can Do. They were happening in Newtown in 2013. So I took my shot at that, and when I got there, there was a couple of people that I met, and one of them was a guy called NJ. I didn't make it on those auditions, but I got NJ's contacts, and he told me that his brother actually has a studio in town. At that time I was recording with a guy who was based in PTA, and it was very hard for me to go all the way from Jersey to PTA every weekend. So when NJ told me about his brother who was based in the CBD, and he played me one of the songs that his brother had done for him, I was so impressed. I'm like, sure man, I have to meet this brother of yours. And I did. I met his brother, and when I started to work with him, I then found out that, hey man, he actually works with prominent artists. And at that time, the big artist he had worked with was KO from Tear Gas, Maggz, Maraza. And I'm like, sure, nah man, this is it, I'm not going anywhere. And then I did my first song with him called One Night featuring Kid Nemo. Kid Nemo was a very talented artist that I felt like his confidence was just over the roof. I was recording my song and he asked to be a part of it, wrote a verse same time, and Kid Nemo was friends with Emtee. But I didn't know who Emtee was. So on the day that we had to drop the song, Kid Nemo asked for my phone. He's like, hey, he just wants to put the word out there about this song. He didn't have a phone, so he asked for my phone, and he logged on on his Twitter account using my phone, and then he tagged all his industry friends, just making them aware of this song that he had just dropped with me. And then one of those people he tagged was Emtee. I didn't know who Emtee was, but the next studio session I had with Ruff, who was the
actual producer.
Yes.
We figured.
Yes.
We're rolling with you.
That's when Emtee, that's when I found him there. Very quiet guy, he was just very kept to himself, and I was also there. I didn't know that he was that talented, but then
I'ma stunt so hard they gonna hate. No two ways, I'm positive. Middle finger you and know your niggas who don't feel the shit. Young and knocking through your speaker, yes, and turn it up a bit. Can you deny your girl twerking crazy to the shit? Lord protect me from these niggas. I don't wanna associate myself with all these niggas. Cause keep me away from all these niggas. Numbers telling lies, sales don't even match your bias. Acting like you got this figured out. I'm the nigga they gon' talk about. So tell your homies not to fuck around. Chamberlain, Rastaman ting off the inbound.